Hey, welcome everybody to the 40 Finance channel and the first video here for 2022. And for this one, we're just going to do a portfolio update on my retail stock account, talk about the performance or lack thereof in 2021, and see where all of my holdings sit as we enter this new year. Now, before we jump into the actual account, I always do this sort of running tab on the actual performance. I think it gives like a better indication of exactly how things are going. And in my opinion, it tracks gains and losses a little bit better than just looking at the top level that you always see in retail brokerage accounts. And this was 2020. We're going to scroll down to 2021. But last year was a great year. So we ended up at plus 39%. And you see how I break this out here? You take the starting amount of your account on January 1st, then line item for the deposits, the money put into the account, the money that you may have earned for dividends or I earned for dividends, the actual realized gain or loss, what did you sell and what was the realized gain or loss. In mine, I get small rebates for lending out shares. I don't know if that will continue. I'm actually going to start selling calls on my shares because I have a lot of positions that are over 100 shares. So this may not continue into the future. Put that into a subtotal here, and this is basically represents all the money that I've put into the account, right? Whether I earned the money, whether I realized the money, made a deposit, etc. So that's where you see the 66. And then at the end of the year in 2020, on the close of 12/31, I had this amount, and that led to the percentage gain of 39%. So that's how it's set up. Now we see the disappointing difference in 2021. So we had the starting balance, which is carried over. Deposits were still good for the year, on track for my goals. Dividends up a little bit. Realized gains and losses, now plus 2,000. Sounds good, but I actually made a little bit of a mistake. I miscalculated where my gains were. I would have actually sold some more losers to kind of offset this, because you can lose, I think it's up to $300 or so a year on this. I should have set that up a little bit better, but it's not the end of the world at the end of the day. The taxes on $2,000, it's really not that much money, so I'm not worried about it. But I probably should have managed it better. Rebates, and then that gave you a subtotal of 119,911. Then you look down here at balance at the end of 12/31, I had 102 in the account. So the net loss, net gain, net loss, minus $17,664. And that was a loss percentage of minus 13%. So in 2020, we were at plus 39. This year, we end at minus 13. On the bright side of a very bad year. On the bright side of 2021, I still hit my goals in terms of deposits, which I'm very proud of. On the downside, the moves that I made and the investments I chose came up a little bit short. However, this is a long-term account and it's not a regular income. I'm not a stock trader, so I don't expect this to pay my bills every day, but nonetheless disappointing. All right, now let's take a look at the holdings that I have here, at least kicking off 2022. And right off the bat, you see why I shared that spreadsheet in the prior screen, because the total gain and loss doesn't really give you the full picture. You have behind the scenes, you have dividends, you have realized gains and losses that don't even show up on the screen. You have no track record of your deposits, stuff like that. So that's why I do that kind of summary screen to kick things off. Now in the past, I've liked to put this in a Yahoo Finance portfolio tracker because I feel like it displays better, but I haven't updated that. So we're just going to go in and look at things from a sort of live view, if you will. And unfortunately, you can't really sort these. It's sort of alphabetical. That's just the way Ally does it. But kicking off the year, we've got Amazon, 3 shares of Amazon, average price here of $31.82, and that one is up about 6% as of right this second, but obviously it could change at any minute, right? 200 of DraftKings, we're in at $34.56. So this is one of the contributors to the loss last year. Hanging on strong though, I am down almost 20%. Magnite, this is one that I would have lost, the losses would have shown up a lot more if you had incorporated some of these shares that I sold. So again, not always representative without that little spreadsheet look. But right now I stand at 200 shares at $25.98. That's minus 30% for the shares that I still have here today. Palantir, 240 shares at $21.94. Palantir is behind the curve by about 17%. PayPal, I'm up to 80 shares of PayPal, hoping to get to 100 here as soon as possible. I just need to find the right price for me. My average price is $192.11. We are back in the green on PayPal. This is one that was negative as recently as last week. I'm buying PayPal somewhere in the 180s whenever I see those days. All right, QQQ. I've started my position in QQQ. I'm building it out ideally on red days. Right now I'm in at 388. That one's up about 3%, but I just started that basically in December. And my goal over time, I don't think I'll hit this year, but I'd love to have 100 shares of QQQ for the long term, add some balance to this portfolio. All right, Rocket, 320 shares of Rocket at $19.36. That one is down almost 25% here. Sabre, 200 shares of Sabre at $11 even. That one's down 17%. And honestly, with the way airlines are going, that one could get worse. It wouldn't surprise me if I doubled down a little bit on Sabre to lower my cost basis. All right, next up is Square. 40 shares of Square at $2.17. Square obviously took a hit just like PayPal. The end of last year, that one's down 25%. And honestly, if I went back in time and would have sold additional shares before the end of the year, some of my Square would have likely been the target for those sales, just because I don't know how long it's going to take to get out of this 162 rut, to be real honest with you. All right, TJX, one of the winners, 105 shares. I own it at $48.08. I've owned this one for a while, plus 58%. TSM, we got 55 shares, $92.29. That was also a good winner, plus 40% last year. And Visa, 65. Visa got slammed and has sort of bounced back. I'm in at 190, and it's starting a little bit of an upward trajectory, plus 16.35% as of today. And last but not least, one of my new positions, Zillow, which I started roughly in October, something like that, off the top of my head. Price today of $61.58. I'm in with an average of $72.88, and that has been down minus 15%. My goal was Zillow, that I'm not really in a hurry for, but I'm watching it. I do want to get to about 200 shares on Zillow for the long term. All right, so that's where things stand in my retail account heading into 2022. 2021, a little bit of a letdown, but my priorities going forward is to continue to build up my QQQ, most notably on red days, if at all possible. I'm also going to be selling some options on the positions that I do have 100 shares, and positions that I'm close to 100 shares, aka PayPal, TJX, Magnite, some of those, I've hesitated in the past to sell call options on some of these assets, but I'm going to be jumping in with that here in 2022, try to make some extra income. And in some cases with them, if they get called away, it's not really the end of the world, because the way that I'm going to be setting this up is it would be beneficial to me either way. All right, guys, so that's where things stand heading into 2022. Even though I took a little bit of a hit last year, quite honestly, I feel like I managed it pretty well to get down to just minus 13%. And I'm really looking forward to 2022. I'm actually looking forward in some ways to some interest rates coming through, maybe a more practical sense of valuation in the market. That's what I'm projecting. And for me, one of the big focuses is going to be earnings per share, right? And looking ahead to earnings per share growth, trying to get some revenue growth on top of it, trying to balance those PE ratios, staying low on debt. Some of the core things that I really got away from in 2021 when there were so many shiny objects flying around. Definitely have some regrets looking back on that. But ultimately, with investing, you learn something on every single investment you make. I certainly learned a lot last year. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this. Please give a like, share the channel if you did. I appreciate all your support. We'll see you on the next video.